Today I want to show you how to combine hacking with boarding. Let's jump straight in with an example. I'm going to hack the enemy weapons and also board into the enemy weapons. The reason that I'm hacking weapons is that I don't want to take damage. Hacking weapons here is the only way to stop the Salito missile from firing. And the reason that I'm boarding into weapons doesn't have a whole lot to do with weapons right now. It's just because that's the room that we hacked, and so this gives us good use of the door control. And you'll see that these enemies are about to start running to the med bay, but they can't get out because the doors are locked. I could kill them before they get out just using my mantis, but I want to stop this missile. So I'm going to bomb weapons as well. Hack weapons, board weapons, bomb weapons. Notice that the pilot is already leaving, so their evasion will be much lower, and the bomb is very likely to hit. And you can see how easy it is there to snipe enemy crew as well using the door control. You can do it without hacking, but it's very easy when you have door control. And now the fight is essentially over. There are plenty of ways we could win this, but we don't need to do anything particularly fancy. I'm just moving back and forth waiting for my hack to come off cooldown because I can't remove the power from the system just yet. And now I can go back into weapons. When I turn off the power from hacking, it will remove these purple doors so they can come in, turn it back on, purple doors come back. And I guess we should make sure that we don't lose our mantis by swapping them. And there you go. Very easy crew kill. Notice that we didn't have to worry about the medbay at all. We didn't need to hack it. We didn't need to bomb it. There's really no reason here to waste any resources on the medbay, and certainly not to hack it instead of hacking weapons. So that's the basic idea. Hack weapons, board weapons, shoot them in the weapons as needed. But what I showed you is not exactly what you would normally see in really high-level play. Or even top-level play. Actually, what I showed you was totally fine given that we have Mantis and they have humans, but normally what you'll see at high levels of play is slightly different. We're still going to hack weapons and we're still going to board weapons, but I'm just going to wait a moment before boarding. And that means that the hacking drone is arriving before this crew can get in the room. So we get a 2v1 against this crew. Now, funny enough, this is actually inferior in this particular fight because we have 2 mantis and they have 3 humans. But you could imagine if this was a pirate ship and maybe they have mantis as well, or you're not playing mantis A, maybe it's slug B or something. So you might want that 2v1 advantage. And it's the same thing. Okay, now we've got 2 crew to deal with, but it's not exactly difficult. There's all sorts of tricks you can use here. Right. I'm not really doing anything particularly well thought out here. I'm just moving crew around, using shield distraction. Okay, so basically the same thing, but remember you have the option of delaying your boarding such that you fight 2v1 in the hacked room. As I said, that's what you will typically see even at the top level of play. But I don't really think it's that good. I mean, it's not bad, obviously, but I think we can do better. So let's try something a bit different. I'm going to hack weapons, again, but this time I'm boarding shields. It doesn't have to be shields, it's just that that's the next room. And by doing this, we pull the weapons crew. We also pull the engines crew. And now we can walk into the hacked room, and there's no one in there. And we should be able to do a point of damage into the enemy weapons. And it took the Leto missile offline. In this particular case, it was more likely that the Leto goes offline because it's actually in slot 1, and typically, with equal charge, the slot 1 weapon will go down rather than slot 2, but it's far from guaranteed. But it worked this time. And now, of course, we have essentially a safe fight. It's unlikely the heavy laser will get through together with the combat drone through 2 shields. It's possible, but it's unlikely. You could bomb if you want to. Anyway, the reason this is better is that I got a point of guaranteed damage in the sense that my border's system damage is unaffected by enemy evasion, whereas the bomb is. Even if you pull the pilot, there's still a chance that you just miss. And of course you can save a bomb if you don't need to use it. Now something I should mention is that this point of damage isn't completely guaranteed. It depends on a number of factors, such as the layout, whether they're doing that rotation. Our Mantis being fast helped. The speed at which they break doors is, or which they hit doors, is slightly randomized. So this wasn't guaranteed. Let's see an example where it definitely won't work. This is a pirate rigger and it happens to be full of Mantis. I'm going to hack weapons and board into this empty room. That will pull these 2 crew. And then we'll go back into weapons. But this isn't going to work because the Mantis actually break down the doors faster. You see, it's not even close. It takes the same number of hits, but Mantis and Rock crew break down doors faster than other crew. But I was actually being a bit sneaky there because I deliberately boarded into a room where I knew it wouldn't work. Whereas if I were to board into, say, medbay, it will work. You'll see why. We're splitting them across 2 doors. And that happened because it pulls the pilot first and then one of these 2 crew goes swap out to become a pilot. And they're spreading their attacks across 2 doors, which means we have enough time to break a system level before they break in. Now, of course, we still have to deal with, Mantis here, which is a bit of an issue. But it's okay. You know, they can't fix shit to save their lives anyway. So once the missile is offline, we're kind of fine. Maybe even damage the drones, take that offline. Hack doors are so useful. And we can board as well. Oh, I needed someone in shields, didn't I? It looks like chaos, but I have everything under control here. That Mantis is going to run. Oh, they did get out. But we killed one of them. Do a point of damage into shields. That will force them to repair it. We've broken weapons. We can even retreat our crew if we need to. Let them in. Let the NG tank. Kill them while they try to get back through the doors. Break the medbay if we want. There you go. So you can see how it could be a bit confusing if you're not exactly sure what the AI is going to do. Let's go back to this example with the Rebel Rigger. I've brought it into weapons, and there's actually two ways I could split here. I could go out into shields first, or I could go out into the empty room first. If I go into the empty room first, like this, then it's going to go a bit wrong because I'm going to pull the pilot first. And now, if I were to go back into weapons, watch what happens. You see we've got 2 crew lined up on that door. That's not really what we wanted. Whereas if I reverse the order, go out into shields first and empty room second, then we will get what we want. So we just changed effectively where the pilot was going. We changed the crew response slightly. Now at this point, your head might be spinning a bit, and you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't really understand all the details of how the AI is responding here. That's just too confusing. I don't think this tactic is for me. Here's the thing. It actually doesn't matter that much. If you want to be super ultra slick with this, then sure, you need to know all the AI stuff. But here's a simple guide. Just hack weapons, board into weapons, and then it doesn't matter what order you move out. Just move out. I'm going to do the wrong way, so to speak, that we saw before. Just move out. All you have to do is split your crew into 2 adjacent rooms, right? And then just wait. Wait until you have their crew split as well. So now we've got what we want. We can move back in, and they will follow us. Now at this point you might be thinking, okay, it's 1 point of guaranteed damage into weapons. I guess that's nice in Sector 1 and 2. But as soon as you get into Sector 3 and onwards, enemies just have a lot more weapons. That doesn't seem very useful. Well, first off, even a single point of damage into enemy weapons can be pretty damn useful. I really like having guarantees in this game. And in particular, if you look at this ship, this is a Rebel fighter in Sector 3 that's high-rolled its weapons, so it has level 5 weapons. I only know that because I made the ship, but this is in fact an Artemis missile. A single point of damage takes down one of those weapons. And I'm going to be really happy whichever one goes down. And secondly, you can actually stack tactics on top of tactics here. We don't have any upgrades yet, by the way, so let's just have a play as is. I'm going to hack weapons, board into engines this time as it happens. You don't have to do it this way, but I will. And then go into weapons, we get the crew split. Hack the weapons. And something interesting will happen here, by the way, because we're in a 4-tile room, a large room. As soon as we do that point of damage into weapons, we actually pull the pilot as well, and that's because we created a repair task in addition to the 2 combat tasks. So now all three enemy crew are trying to get in the room. Thought it's kind of interesting. Now my small bomb is ready. I could move my crew out, but I actually don't want to. I want to keep getting damage on the weapons and let the enemy crew in once they break down the doors. Now I'm going to bomb. And what I could do here is move both the Mantis out the room so they don't take damage, and I can still bomb all 3 enemy crew if I time it right. But I don't want to do that because I want to keep this partial damage. I'll bomb, I'll move 1 Mantis out. You shouldn't be afraid of shooting your own crew. And actually we started a double fire, which is kind of helpful. We might even be able to get... Yeah, there goes the Artemis. So you see, that would not have worked if I had left the room with my crew. They would have fired an Artemis. Anyway, obviously we can now clean up. This tactic isn't specifically dependent on getting fires, by the way. What I'm just trying to show you is you can stack tactics. You can do a point of guaranteed damage into weapons with your crew. you can then keep that partial damage, and we'll look at how you can use that a bit in a moment. But you can also shoot the weapons room, even if your crew are still in there. Obviously you have to be careful, but you can do it. You can improve this tactic just by upgrading your systems. Now we have level 2 hacking, so we can delay enemy weapons by up to 14 seconds instead of 8 seconds. Same tactic, hack weapons, board engines, move out, and we wait for the weapons to charge for at least 7 seconds before we hack them. I will bring my crew over to the teleporter. And again, I'm going to wait for them to get in before I fire my bomb. Did I get him? I think I did. We might be able to force 1 or 2 of these out to the medbay in a moment. We can now board. I'm going to try boarding into shields. This will pull the remaining 2 crew. They might get stopped by the hacked door closing. Once doors are broken down, then they close after... hacked doors are broken down, they close after 7 seconds. Yeah, it did. Okay. Never mind. But we can still just kill them. If they had actually got out in time, which they sometimes would, depending on the minor details, then we would actually have broken this Artemis. In fact, no, we still do it, right? Look at that. And now I've also upgraded my teleporter to level 2. Let's see what happens. Hack weapons. Board into engines. Move in. I'll get my crew in place. And in this case, I can board into shields now. And I can even set up a shield rotation. So I'm going to move 1 mantis out into shields and then bring 2 back. The trick I'm doing here is I'm creating 3 combat tasks in shields and I'm leaving 1 crew inside the room, which means it won't clear the combat tasks and all 3 enemy crew will be dragged there while the hacked doors are still open, mind you, so they can get out. This is the effect of our level 2 teleporter. And because we've kept 1 crew in weapons, we still keep all our partial damage. And now I'm just going to use shield rotations. As long as I keep 1 crew in shields at all times, then I can keep these 3 crew occupied and just keep swapping them out before their health gets too low. But we can now move out. We've definitely got this. They won't get in time. We'll probably even break this. Doesn't matter though. There you go. I didn't even use a bomb. And of course, even though we lost some crew health, we can just clean up really easily here. If we have to retreat, it's okay as well. Let's pull 1 of these crew because the NG is a bit vulnerable. I don't want them fighting. Whatever. What I find really fascinating about these kind of tactics is that they're not just standard cookie cutter techniques that you always use in the same way every time. You have to think about the individual fight. And some of the things that you might need to pay attention to are how many crew the enemy has, and the layout of their ship, particularly whether the shields and weapons rooms are large or small. And let's take an example here. This is a disruptor from Sector 3. And I've given myself max sensors just so you can still see the weapons levels. They have a flak 2 and a heavy laser. Obviously the thing we care about is the flak 2. But notice that the weapons room on this ship layout is a dead end. There's only one door, so that kind of messes with our tactic. We can't split the enemy crew across multiple doors when there's only one door. So what are we going to do? Well, I'm actually going to hack the clone bay and board into drones, I think? Yeah, drones. Now, by the way, I didn't mention this before, but I probably should at some point. Be careful if you do this. If you stack your crew on top of each other and then start moving them like this, because sometimes you can get them exactly on top of each other. And what that will mean is that the crew AI actually changes in how they respond to you, because they're no longer seeing one crew go into this room and one remain. They actually see both crew leave the room at the same frame. And that's actually not what we want here, because I want to pull the pilot into the weapons room. So I'm just going to make sure they are separated at least a bit. One frame should be enough. And now we move out. And check this out. The only reason we're seeing the charge bars, of course, is that we do have max level sensors. I wanted you to see the punching progress. We've now split the enemy crew across 2 doors. And then they'll also have to get through another door before they can get into weapons. And it turns out it's not even close. 2 system damage into weapons forces the flak offline. And we nearly get 3 actually. And of course we could get 3 now, with a little help from our friends. Just kill that one. Finish this off. So you see, sometimes you just need to be a bit creative. If you were very observant, then you might have noticed something about the last fight that looked wrong, something that shouldn't have happened. Let's take a look. I'm going to hack Clone Bay again, board into drones, and I'll just move into Clone Bay one at a time to show you clearly what the AI is doing. When we move our first crew, it pulls the pilot because there are still 2 combat tasks in this room while we have a crew in it. When I move the second crew, both of those will be cleared. So now we have 2 combat tasks in Clone Bay only. And so the pilot is coming to do one of those still, and one of these crews should be assigned to that second combat task. The other crew has been freed up to do something else. What should they do? They should man a system. Which system should they man? The highest priority manning task, which is piloting. So they should be going to piloting. But they're not. They go and man engines instead. Why? Well, it turns out that if you pull a crew away from a manning task, if they leave a manning task, then the other crew will not respond to that. They won't recognize that, so to speak, until this crew actually gets out the room. And this is not exclusive to piloting, it applies to any manning task. So this crew is currently behaving as if piloting is already manned, so their next highest priority task is to man engines instead. And that'll change when the crew gets out the room. Wait for it. Okay, you see, as soon as the pilot actually left the room, this crew has recognized that piloting is not manned, and they're going to do that because it's more important than engines. So what I find really interesting about this is this tactic that, I mean, we're in Clone Bay now, but we would be in weapons. This tactic that we've been using actually depends on that nuance of the crew AI, and it depends on the fact that the Clone Bay blocks the pilot from leaving. So the layout here really affects the tactics that you can use. Now, believe it or not, we still haven't explained all of the crew AI behavior here. So we'll take one more look at it. It is kind of interesting for learning exactly how the crew AI works, because if you understand that, then you can potentially invent new tactics on the fly in any given fight. So, first thing to notice is the order of their crew. The first crew is the pilot, that is Gumpo. The second crew is the engines crew, that's Narth. And the third crew is the weapons crew, that is Eowyn. And the reason I'm saying first, second, third is that that's the order in which crew are assigned to manning, because piloting is the most important, and the first crew will be assigned there. If they only have one crew, they'll go there. The next one will go in engines, and the third one goes in weapons. Okay, so that is the order of their crew. When we board into drones, it pulls the lowest priority crew, the one who's doing the least important task, first, and then it pulls the next one, next least important. So it's going to pull Eowyn first and Narth second, meaning Eowyn will end up on the top left tile, Narth will end up on the top right tile, because that is the fill order. Wait and see, as predicted. When we move out, we pull the pilot, because there are still 2 combat tasks occupying these crew. And then when we move out again, and I am staggering this more just so you can see what's happened, of course they'd be closer together, but when we move out again, it's going to release both of these combat tasks, and for a brief moment, these crew will not have any tasks assigned to them. Now, you'll never see that, because all of this is calculated immediately before a frame is rendered. So the sequence of events will be, we move out into this room, and these crew lose their tasks, they are unassigned, they have no task, and then the game works out what the next task assignment should be, and then it will render the next frame. So you don't see a moment where they just sit there and do nothing. Nevertheless, there is a point in the code where they have no task. Now, how does it decide who gets the combat task? Well, the game is looping through all of the tasks that are not being filled, and then for each one it's looping through all of the crew and finding the crew with the lowest priority current task. Okay, these have none, so what is the tiebreak condition? Well, it turns out the tiebreak condition is simply who comes first in the list. So the first one, if there's a tiebreak, the original pilot would be pulled first, then crew number 1. Then the engines crew, that's Narth, would be pulled, original engines crew, and then the original weapons crew. So this is going to pull Narth, see? And by the way, this idea of a crew list, we have our own crew list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like enemies do, and that can affect some logic as well. There's some complications to do with cloning and teleporter usage, rearranging the list, but the point is, there is an order to these enemies, a hidden order, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have a tie break, and that's deciding that crew number 2 will take precedence over crew number 3, who will go and man engines, as we talked about before. Now, when we move out into weapons, with 1 Mantis, these 2 crew are still assigned to these combat tasks, so we will pull Eowyn back, like so. See, she's coming to fight us as well. And then when we move out from Clone Bay completely, the same thing will happen again. Both of these combat tasks will be released. Eowyn will still have a combat task, so she's still going to fight this Mantis, but these 2 crew are briefly doing nothing. So which of them will go and take the second combat task, and which of them will go to man a system? Well, again, the tiebreak is down to the order of the crew in the list, and fortunately for us, the pilot is number 1. That means that Narth is going to give up beating on this door, Eowyn will take his place, and Gumpo is still going to be occupied beating on this door, right? Which is better than having these 2 both beat on this door and then this one. You see? There's that little swap. So we get the result we want, and it's only because the crew behaves in the way that it does. So hopefully that made sense. This is a very technical breakdown of how the crew AI works. But the 2 points that we just covered were they won't respond to, for example, the pilot leaving the manning station until he gets out the room. So they don't respond to other crews stopping manning until they actually get out the room. And secondly, that in the case of a tie break, which is what happens when your last crew leaves the room, it will be decided by the order of the crew, the internal order that the game has for these crew members. Okay, that's probably a good place to stop before the video gets excessively long. I hope that was interesting, and I will leave you with a fun, simple example where you don't even need hacking. This is Rock Scout, specifically Rock Scout in the first 3 sectors where they only have 2 crew. And the pilot is the closer, but they have to walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 tiles in order to get into weapons, and that is just long enough for us to do a point of damage, which makes the fight safe. There you go. Now this would not work if their piloting console were on the right-hand tile instead of the left-hand tile, but I believe with this layout it is always on the left-hand tile. You could also watch out for this trick, perhaps on some pirate layouts, if they happen to roll all rock crew. Anyway, hope that was interesting, and see you for the next one.